Hey, hey, hey. That's my week, Harry Carey. I got that because I threw it back yesterday, Throwback Thursday. Uh, Decided to watch some old Cubs games. Well, one old Cubs game. It was from, I think, 1989. Cubs and at Wrigley. Greg Maddux on the mound for the Cubs. Jerome Walton leading off. And I just forgot I forgot all about the chemistry. Actually, the chemistry between Harry Carey and Steve Stone. This, I think it was still early in Steve Stone and Harry Carey's tandem. I'm not sure when they started teaming up. I'll have to look that up. But I was texting with a friend of mine, and I'm like, the Harry Carey would say something, hey, it's I'm not even gonna do a Harry Carey impersonation. Harry Carey, just imagine Harry Carey's voice. I think his impersonation's been overdone. But anyway, think of Harry Carey. Bill and Rita from Joliet are here celebrating Bill's 50th birthday. Bill was quite the high school basketball player back in the day. And then all of a sudden, Steve Stone chimes in. I can't even do a Steve Stone. It sounds like, the Alexa sounds more human than Steve Stone. Herm Winningham is batting .234. He is, and just imagine Steve Stone's voice, if you know Steve Stone, and he is fast on the base paths. Happy birthday to Janet down in Rio, Illinois. And it's just, I can't believe like how off the wall it sounded. So that was from 1989. So, what's up? Happy Friday. Happy Friday. We've got a full chat. Good morning. Tracy's in the house. Good morning to you. Happy Friday, Ed. Jenny says, good morning, Hobby Universe. Finally Friday. Madison Card Show weekend. That's right. Tomorrow is the big Madison Card Show at the Sheraton Hotel on John Nolan Drive. I was out there. I was on John Nolan Drive yesterday and getting my first preparation of the show. I'll go back this afternoon for the semi finishing touches, semi-final touches. And then tomorrow morning, I'm still running around like a chicken with its head cut off. So today's always like, I'm actually oversold at the moment. I'm oversold, and I had 8 different dealers reach out yesterday, and I think I just took a text. Let's see. Oh, no, that was so I'm oversold. So we'll see how today transpires. I think last month I was 5 oversold Friday morning, and I was sweating a little bit. But I didn't do as much. I've done much more following up today than I had last month. So I'm a little more nervous, but 2 tables, if I was at 5, I'd be really sweating it, but 2 tables, I think it'll work out. And the crazy thing is that was a dealer who has 2 tables, wanted a third. I had somebody reach out yesterday that's got a table, wanted a second, actually 2 dealers, 8 other dealers that want to get in. This is, and I commented on Ryan Nolan was talking about how nobody's buying cards on Twitter, and he thinks it's people saving up for the National. I don't think it's that, because, and I'll dive into why I don't think that, and I'll get into some thoughts on online sales at the moment. But I mentioned this is the most dealer turnout that I've had of any previous show. It's in a lot of people coming in. So this is kind of, you think, like, because I had one dealer when I was confirming earlier this week, he's like, how do you think it's going to be, because the Nationals next week? And I shared the story of last year. And I don't know if I'm sure I've shared it recently, but last year the National was in Chicago, which in Rosemont is just 2 hours. It's a 2-hour drive from John Nolan Drive to Great River Road. And is it Great River Road? Whatever it is, at Donald Stevens Convention Center in Rosemont. 2-hour drive. And I was asking dealers, I was asking customers, like, hey, you going to the National next week? And about 80%, not going to the National. It could have been even higher. But roughly 80% of the people I talked to were not going to the National, and it was just a 2-hour drive. So, and I think we see it all the time. And I apologize for the National talk, but we see it all the time from content creators, because we're consuming content, and most of those content creators are going to the National. I think Hobby Hotline's what, 20, there's 20 people on Hobby Hotline, and I bet like 15 of the 20 are going. I'm one of the minority that's not going. Might even be 16 or 17 of the 20 that are going. But you see all of this content and people just talking about the National. A lot of the bigger accounts that tweet a lot, going to the National. But if you went to a small monthly card show, say in, let's use, because I love using Boise, Idaho as like an example. And the reason I use, nothing against any of my friends in Boise, I don't know if I have any, but I do. My buddy Ty from Bench Clear lives in Idaho, so I'm going to use that as an example. But the reason I use Boise, Idaho, there was a book, and I believe it was called The Art of Sportscasting, that early in my radio career, I picked this book up, and I've actually read it a couple times during my radio days. But that's what the author of the book used, Boise, Idaho. You're going to have to basically using Boise, Idaho as a representation of, you're not going to start on ESPN, young broadcaster. You're going to have to start in Boise, Idaho, and work your way up to bigger markets. So that's why I use Boise, Idaho as like the default random spot in America. But I'm going to use Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Shout out to Ty from Bench Clear. They run a card show up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And Coeur d'Alene is fun to say. Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. So if you're at the Coeur d'Alene, Idaho show, excuse me. If you're in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, I bet if you polled 100 people at the Coeur d'Alene, Idaho show, hey, are you going to the National? I bet 0 or 1 of those 100 people, probably closer to 0, are going to be going to the National. It's less than 1%. Just think of the general, because when we say collectors, like, who do you think of? When you think of a collector, like, usually you think of like people that are out there plastering it all over social media. And those are the people, because they plastered all over social media, they're going to go to the National. But in reality, that's just not the case. And it's, when I think of the general collector, I think of some of the customers that come to my card show. They're big time. And I hate the term true collector, but they're the random guy from, I'm going to use a random Wisconsin town. They're just the collector from Spring Green, Wisconsin. And they're coming into Madison. They're going to the card show. They probably went to a day at the Dells, last year. They might go to, I don't know, Stevens Point or Janesville to a card show, but typically they're just, they have their notebook, they're looking at sets, and they're not going to spend, they're not even going to go to the Chicago National 2 hours away, but they're like in it. They're like big time. They are true collectors. I hate that term. They're true collectors, but they're not going to the National. There's so many people like that. Or even the guy and the kid that, they take their family trip to Target on Friday night, and little Johnny wants a pack of whatever, Pokemon or soccer, baseball, whatever it might be. And they just pick up a blaster, every Friday night. Dad and son, they go to Target, they get a $20 blaster. I guess they're more than that, $25 blaster. or if you're Panini 35 or 40 or whatever it is, but they're just going to pick up a blaster box. There's so many people in the collecting hobby that I think we that consume all of this hobby content kind of take those collectors for granted. And like, we think, the loudest content creators, and I'm trying to use it's not even an 80-20, it's like 99-1. The quietest 99% represent, no, that doesn't work. I don't know, but it's less than 1%. So I don't think, and I even titled one of the previous hobby evolutions that, your sales aren't really going to be affected by the national. And people, especially sellers, if you're selling volume, lower dollar cards like I do, $2 cards, free shipping, even $5 and $10 cards, even $20 cards, you're not going to see much of a effect because of the national, because most people that go to the national, yeah, we like going digging through a lot of people through the bargain boxes, but a majority are, bigger spenders. And, I don't think my customer base with what I sell, like my niche on eBay, I don't think many of my customers are going to the national. I'm sure there's a few, but I bet it's a very, very small percent of my customer base on eBay will be attending the national. I want to go in a little bit more on sales, not national talk. I'll end it there. But I do want to talk about actually a couple different things on eBay. Sales, talk Twitter sales, talk eBay shipping's been glitchy. So in a roundabout way, tomorrow is the Madison Card Show. John Nolan Drive at the Sheraton Hotel, free admission, 120 sold out tables. Can't wait. Ed, what is up? Victor, good morning to you. John Evans, good morning, afternoon, good evening. David, what is up? That's what I should say. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, because we've got representation from all sides. David, happy Friday to you. Rich, good morning to you. I failed to Google that after the show yesterday. Let's see. Jenny says, wait, Alexa is not human. Cliff, good morning. Dan, good morning. It's weird to say good morning to Dan. Let's see. Rich says, John Nolan Drive, 2 early mentions. I tried to get a photo. I will do my best to get a photo. Here's the thing. There's not many John Nolan Drive road signs like in the Sheraton Hotel vicinity. I was at the stoplight. I wanted to drive by, so I took the next road over is called Rimrock, which is just a fun word to say. Rimrock Road. It's like triple R. Rimrock Road. Rimrock Road actually goes right to the front door of the Sheraton. So you can actually take either Rimrock Road or the John Nolan Drive exits off the Beltline. So when I drive by on Rimrock Road and jump on the Beltline off the Rimrock Road exit, I go by the Dane County Fair, which is this weekend. So if you're in town for the Madison Card Show, head across the street if county fairs are your thing. Music's nothing to write home about, as John Keating looked it up yesterday and reported that in the chat. Yeah, the music is weak at the Dane County Fair, but hey, you can get your fried food and your carnival rides. So I took the Rimrock exit because I wanted to check out. I actually wanted to see where, because as I drove in, I took the John Nolan Drive exit, chalk up another one. I took that exit and I didn't see, like, Bratfest was like right on John Nolan Drive, like right across the street. But the Dane County Fair is like more down Rimrock Road. So it's like, and when I say down the road, I'm like meaning a half a block. Like it's not very far at all. Moving on, Jenny says people are not buying cards on Twitter because every single bad experience people have buying cards on Twitter gets blasted. That's a good point. Like, but the good old buys do not get blasted. People are afraid of Twitter buying. Knock on wood, there's probably some wood around here somewhere. I don't think I've ever been burned on Twitter. Um, I don't know if I've ever been burned on now, little transparency. I don't do like a lot of buying. Like really, I don't do a lot of buying. Um, which it's funny to say that, but I'm talking like singles, I guess. Um, online. I buy when I buy on eBay, like very like the last. Let's look at my last eBay buy. When was my last? And I have $100 gift card from. Gosh, it might be. It wasn't. Oh, my birthday. So I guess it's only been 6 weeks. But I've got $100 eBay gift card. I just don't know what to buy. Like I'm going to buy a Cubs card, but I just don't know what. So the last thing I bought was on June 1st, and that was bubble mailers with my $50 coupon. Before that, my last eBay buy was for a whopping $2.99. It was a Herb Hudson signed index card, and I bought that on April 7th. That's the last time I've bought something card related on eBay. April 7th. That's what? I'm going to use my figures account. May, June, July. That's 3.5 months. I haven't bought a card on eBay in 3.5 months. And look, and all of the touting I do on eBay. And then before that, I went on a spree because April 5th, I also bought. Oh, that was when I was on a prospect auto kick because I had been returned from spring training. So I bought a Leaf Metal Draft auto of Alexander Vizcaino. I actually bought quite a few prospect cards after I got back from spring training. But yeah, it's been, what did I say? April? Yeah, it's been 3.5 months since I bought a card on eBay. I did recently buy something on Twitter, and I did receive those in the mail. I have to show them. I don't think I shared on Twitter. I just randomly saw this lot of 4 Max Bain. I think they're Prism draft picks from this year. Max Bain's a Cubs prospect. He's got a really cool podcast too. It's called the something Bain, the Bain Report. No, I can't remember. But anyway, I didn't even know he was in the set, and I saw I'm like, whoa, those are cool cards, and it was $6 shipped, and it included an autograph, and the autograph's numbered to like 50 or something like that, and it's got another color serial number, and then like basically 3 colors in the base card for $6 shipped. Like, heck yeah. So that was the last thing I bought on Twitter. The only place, and I've actually been burned twice on the blowout forums, but I pay goods and services, so I got my money back. And but I've had good experiences. I think if you do your due diligence and you use goods and services on purchases, it should be good to go. But yeah, and on your point, and I know Jenny, you're big on like when people complain about standard envelope. It's like 1 out of every 5 gets lost, and it's like, well, how many of you shipped? 5. And it's like you see the one, like if you ship out 5 and 1, like it's all about it. It's all a numbers game. I bet I've had issues with 1 out of 500. Let's say 1 out of 500. I've had an issue with. But that one could have then been the second one. Say I start counting today, and the second one I send out gets lost, but the next 497 or 98 are delivered fine, no problems. But hey, if you stop at that one and it gets lost and you're like, well, I'm throwing in the towel, it's like, well, it's going to skew. But it's not hard, fast numbers. I don't have a completely accurate report, but I have very few. And when I say very few, it's probably 1 out of 500 that I have issues with on standard envelope. But when you see those 1 out of 500, when people, and it's probably not, if somebody only ships 5 and they have a problem with 1, they're going to complain and they're going to report, they're not going to report the 4 out of 5 that were successful, but you're going to see the 1. And all of a sudden, like there could be 10,000 transactions and there could be 20 problems. You're going to see 20 problems on Twitter, people complaining about, oh, this doesn't work. And you're not going to see the 9,900 and what number did I use? 80, 9,980 And so you're going to be, it's going to skew your thoughts. River Road. Thank you, Dan. It is great in some points, not all. Like when you have to drive through Des Plaines and then there's construction and then you get stopped at the train tracks. It's not a great river road in downtown Des Plaines. But it is as you approach the Donald Stevens Convention Center, then it's like, yes, this is a great river road. It takes me right to the National or the Chicago Sports Spectacular. And I say downtown, me and my buddy stay like I think it's Wheeling is the I think the address. It's in one of those like areas, basic suburbia where you have no idea which town you're in. It's like it's like that bush is Des Plaines and this bush is Wheeling and all that stuff. Dan says, good morning, Bo. I recorded my first YouTube video yesterday. It's like my YouTube spring training, just trying to get comfort. Hey, it's let's go football terms. It's training camp, which begins. I know players are starting to report this weekend and into next week. Training camp starts. So Dan's got his training camp. He's reporting to YouTube training camp. I like it. CCA gaming, never been myself. There's Herman. Good morning. Hobby World. Let's see. Mark Hoyle. Good morning. Dan says we need to incorporate sports card hoarder into the vernacular of collector, investor, dealer. Did I talk about that? So I think Dr. Beckett used in one of his podcasts, was it Dr. Beckett or it might have been Bench Clear? I don't know, but I saw the question posed. Sports collector, investor, dealer, like in that order? And sports card. Oh, I think it was the round table from the Dallas Card Show. Sports card collector, investor, dealer. Or I think they used content creator. I think it was content creator. Anyway, so like my thought process, like I consider myself, even though I sell cards like I make a living, like I sell cards full time, I still consider myself a collector first. Because I've always been a collector. I've only been a dealer for 8-9 months. And if I gun to my head, ooh, that doesn't sound good, does it? Gun to my head. We're talking baseball cards. If you had to tell me you can only, but see, there's like this gray area because I can still collect cards in somewhat of a sense, but still sell them. Because I consider dealing cards like collecting them. I'm buying them and it's inventory, but I'm still collecting them and then I'm selling them. So now that I talk it out, I don't know. Like, if I had to choose, like you have to be a collector or a dealer. I'm still having a lot of fun dealing cards, selling cards. So maybe if you ask me that next July, I may say, okay, I'll go back to the office in a different industry than my previous job, but I'll go back to the office and I'll keep my Cubs collection. But I consider myself a collector first. And I don't like the term content creator. It's actually on my link. I say that and I was on LinkedIn the other day posting, I think, a Madison Card Show flyer. And that's like the first thing on my LinkedIn, sports card content creator. And it's like, well, I guess I do create content, but I just don't like it. I don't like that term. For me, like in general, yeah, sure. But I don't like calling myself a content because I do it for fun. Like I just, I tweeted out a little tongue-in-cheek tweet about the 1991 Fleer set. Do I actually think it's a great design? No. It was an attempt at sarcasm. So anyway, let's see. Card Hobbyist, what is up? Good morning. Coeur d'Alene. I like Coeur d'Alene. Can I call it Coeur d'Alene? Coeur d'Alene. It's like Des Plaines but it's not Des Moines. Des Plaines, Des Moines. The S is silent in Des Moines. We're weird with the English language. Like Illinois has, and there you go, Illinois. The S is silent. And many people, like I say, Illinois, and many people don't like that. It's Illinois, and I say Illinois. My mom grew up in Geneseo, and it's Geneseo, Geneseo, Illinois, and she calls it Genesil. Oh, and speaking of L's, there's in Iowa, Keokuk, and a lot of people call it Keokuk. So town names are weird. Illinois has a lot of town names like named after worldly cities, like Marseilles, spelled just like Marseille, France, but it's Marseilles. Cairo, down on the southern tip of Illinois, Cairo, Illinois, spelled is like Cairo. And actually they have a high school conference down there. It's called Little Egypt, because of the whole Cairo in there. What else? Orion, Illinois is spelled the same as Orion. Milan, which is just not far from Orion. Milan is spelled like Milan. What else? What other worldly town names are there? And some of these, like, they pale in comparison to their worldly siblings. Jenny says the only people I know locally going to the National are people that own a card shop. And now that the Madison Card Show has grown, significantly since last July, and the show is being held on the same weekend that it was last year, which would be the Saturday before the National. And I lost, and I've got several regulars that aren't setting up this month, but only one, and he's only set up the last couple shows, so it's not like a super regular. And he's doing like, the only reason he's not setting up is because he's doing like a 3-week road trip. I think he was going down to Florida, like he was driving from Wisconsin to Florida and then up the coast to Atlantic City, like a 3-week long trip around the National. Many of my dealers will be going to the National. But last year, I think I had my July show. I think I only had 25 dealer tables, maybe 30. I think it was 25 because I think I hit 30 for the first time in June, and then it dropped in July. And I thought it was actually the last summer was weird because June I thought was going to be this huge show, and I had great dealer turnout at the time. And it was just really slow customer wise. And then July I thought would suck because the National was 2 hours away and it's just a few days before the National begins. I'm like, the show's going to suck. And it was crazy. I had less dealers, but twice as many customers. And last month here in Madison, I had far less dealer interest at my June show, which is kind of opposite of, last year, because now this month, July, I have a ton of dealer interest. So we'll see how the customer, is everybody wanting to be a dealer so they can make money to go to the National? Or is it just kind of the end of vacations are winding down and people are free this weekend? Because June's a tough month. June's always been like my busiest month of the year, just for like anything from weddings to, when I broadcasted softball games, just weekend events, Anawan fun days, just stuff like that. July starts to wind down. So maybe that's what's going on. Zach and Porter in the house. What is up? Good morning. Paul says, large majority of us aren't paying $200 plus per card for said collection, and $2,000 for travel expenses is just $2,000 wasted for said person. I am this person you're describing. Absolutely. Like, I mean, even when the National, say you live here in Madison, Wisconsin, the National's 2 hours away. there's still significant expense if you're on a hobby budget, like, and I think, I have to look through it through a different lens, because now I'm, it's my business. It's a business expense, as opposed to, hey, I just want to go buy some Cubs cards, and right off the bat I'm $75 to $100 in on expenses before walking in the door. Now it's just a business expense, from my vantage point. But even if you're coming from Madison, Wisconsin, say next year's national, whatever gas, by the way, I passed a gas station here in town, $3.76 for unleaded gas. So gas prices are falling. That's a good thing. Hopefully that helps with attendance, because, I think when gas, especially in the Chicago area, when it was over $6 a gallon, I think that definitely, prevents some people from traveling for a card show. But there's a lot of expenses going in just to, either the National or the Chicago Spectacular. And I know, I don't know, is John Keating in the chat yet? But, I talk about the Chicago Spectacular, and now it's not my viewpoint on the Chicago Spectacular has changed, because it's not this. I could go, and it was a big show where I could find vintage for my Cubs collection, and I could get some awesome hit some bargain boxes. But I can hit those and I keep using this example because last November I only bought cards from 2 vendors. One of them was the Freeport Card Shop that I can just drive down. It's a little over an hour away, so it's even shorter than driving to Rosemont, and dig through for free outside of my gas to get there. And then the other dealer is usually set up at shows in Oak Creek, and some of the other suburban shows, and so I can go there for the cost of gas. And I'm not spending, now that I'm in year 1 of my business, I'm not spending flippantly on Cubs cards for my collection. I'm a little more reserved with what I spend on Cubs cards. So yeah, you got to watch. You got to watch, and you're spending gas. You've got tolls going into Rosemont. Parking is $15. Admission is around 15. So it's for the Spectacular, and then whatever it is for the National. So there's significant expenses. Let's see. And so, yeah, if you're just going to fill your 1970 top set, it's, in the door, $75 to $100. Just to walk in is pricey. Dan says, I think hobby Twitter and hobby YouTube should be viewed as its own hobby. It's kind of a hobby inside a hobby. Totally agree. It's, it's not, it's kind of a representation of the hobby, but it's not really. It's a very, it represents a very, very small portion of the general collecting population. And I talk, like, some of my early shows, when I was just, 20, 30 tables, a lot of the guys that are setting up, kind of local, just, hey, it's a local card show, I'm going to set up, and like, hey, do you have Instagram or Twitter? Nah. I have Facebook, or yeah, I'm on Twitter, but I don't tweet about cards. Like, I didn't get into, like, quote unquote hobby Twitter. Like, I didn't start really tweeting about cards until 2017, 2018, but I had been back in the hobby, like, significantly collecting. And what I mean by significantly collecting, I was buying, a hobby box here and there back into 2012 is when I, kind of jumped back in. I was buying blaster boxes, every once in a while, a hobby box. I'd buy, if I find something on Craigslist, but I was really active in the hobby, just wasn't active in the social media. I think the first social media, and I think I actually joined it in 2014, was that big Facebook Keep It Real or whatever. That was the first, and I was very active in that group on Facebook for a couple of years. But I didn't join hobby Twitter. But Facebook hobby is completely different than Twitter and YouTube and all. They all have their pluses and minuses. but I didn't join, like, I didn't get really involved in hobby Twitter until probably 2017. Jenny says she's in Paul's boat. Low rollers in the house. Did you find any good hits on the Goodwill pallet since yesterday? Not really. So I did dive into some cards in the pallet last night. So I didn't really have much time yesterday to commit to the pallet because card show prep. Somebody asked me in the chat a while back about like what it takes to run a show. There was a comment. I think it was in my buddy Tony, who he runs the Oak Creek show, and I think a dealer had mentioned to him that promoters shouldn't make a dime off promoting a card show, and I just like what? What? It's a lot of work, and I will say it's a lot of work when there's the and this is just obvious. The more tables, the more dealers, the more people, the more tables, the more people, the more work. So I spent a significant amount of time. So I was working on that in the morning, and then I went to the venue, and then before and after I was shipping. But I did dive into some of the boxes, just some of the random boxes that are, a lot of them are just going to go in the recycle bin because they're just cards that were thrown in a box, and so the corners are beat up and all that. So I was going through basically just to pick out Cubs cards, and maybe salvage some that can go in a quarter box. And there, I do have a small pot. Actually, there was a couple, and I mean not hits, but there were some vintage. In fact, the oldest card was in really nice condition. It's a 1959 Topps Jerry Kindle Chicago Cubs card. It's really in nice, like fairly sharp corners, like like this is the nicest 1959 Topps card I probably have in my collection. And it was in one of these random, just sitting on top of the box with cards thrown in. But these were like 91 Fleer, 91 Topps, some of that stuff. There was a box of football that they were basically base cards, but there were a lot of stars. Like I filled up probably 3 of a 4-row box of star players for my quarter boxes, and I'll probably end up, when I get back to listing, I'll probably pull from that box and just kind of use it back and forth between a quarter box and inventory for like $1.50 cards in my eBay store. Patrick Mahomes, Baker Mayfield, Joe Burrow. There was a couple Justin Herberts, no rookie cards, but, second year base cards of those younger quarterbacks. And so, yeah, again, there was, probably 2,000 cards, and not all like superstar Mahomes, Mayfield, Burrow, Herbert, because I throw some because I just regionality. Most of the Packers I pull to put in the quarter box. Bears, because I'm doing shows in Rockford, ton of Bears fans down there. So I pull some of those as well. But no big hits out of what I looked through, but I wasn't expecting anything out of the boxes that I did dive into when I, spent an hour or 2 hours last night looking through. Let's see. Dollar Box, Adam in the house. What is up? Good morning. Where am I at here? I skipped way ahead in the chat. Now I'm trying to find my place. Happy Friday. Welcome to Hobby Evolution. Hey, hit the like button if you haven't already. Wow, we're at 40 live viewers. Awesome. Let's see. So happy Friday. There we go. Jenny says, low roller, we got to get you a pallet to dig through. What city are you in? Low roller needs a pallet. I agree. Let's see. Dollar Box says, no national for me. I just go to Chicago every other year. Better turnout and much closer, so cheaper. Absolutely. And I can't wait for Chicago 2023. I am totally pro Chicago every year. And yes, there's bias because it's a easy trip for me, but it is so convenient I think from the show promoters, the more you do at a location, and they've held it in Rosemont several times now. So it's, it's probably old hat for the guys and gals that run the show. But just logistically, the more and more you use a venue, I mean, the more comfortable you get. You learn mistakes faster. Like what can you learn about what you can improve on much faster the more you do it at a standalone venue time after time. Uh Hotels, restaurants, right there. And Mike Moynihan made a great point, I think, on Hobby Hotline Tuesday night about the hotel situation in Rosemont. There's plenty of hotels right there next to the venue, and he likes that. And I don't mind because I'm driving in, so I can see from somebody that's flying in that why, if you're an Airbnb or a hotel out on the outskirts in another suburb, I can understand, and he mentioned like that's where all the action is after the show. I'm like on the opposite end of that spectrum. After the show, I just want to go back to the hotel, look at my cards, and watch from afar what all the action is from Twitter on my hotel bed, watching a baseball game on TV in my hotel room with an ice cold Bud Light. That's my dream at the National is taking my shoes off and resting my feet and watching all the young guys or the people my age that can actually stand around for 12 to 14 hours after the show and during and after the show. The O'Hare, if you are flying in, O'Hare's literally across the interstate, like, take just a few minutes. I mean, with traffic and all that, it's probably 5 to 10 minutes, but it's literally just across the interstate. So it's very convenient. I think, I know a lot of people say, well, it should be in Florida, it should be in Texas, it should be in Denver, it should be in California. But in reality, like, it's just not feasible. John Keating and Rich and John can definitely provide much more insight. And I'll probably in 30 minutes when I get to the chat where you can chime, where I'm not there yet, but I know Rich can certainly chime into it. I know John from a venue standpoint, because it's not just, and I think that's a misconception. Many people like that haven't had the experience with venues. You can't just say, pick a city on a map and say the National should be in Los Angeles because it's a big city. You got to take into consideration, okay, first off, the venue itself, does it have the footprint that you can put the National in? Okay. And it may. Now there's a cost. How much is it? And many times, and I deal with this on a small base, on a teeny tiny basis compared to the National, on a teeny tiny basis with a 120 table card show. It's extremely, even in Podunk, Wisconsin, it's really hard to find venues that are feasible to run a show and make a small profit at the end of the day. A lot of people don't take that into consideration. And then there's a lot of just other nuances. I have no idea what those nuances would be with the National. I'm fidgety this morning, I think. But from a small, it's like, oh, this venue has 7,000 square feet of space. Oh, great. I can fit, 100 tables in that one room, or how many ever tables. But it's like, we only have 50 tables. Okay, now you have to find table rental. Well, it's going to cost, after delivery and your fees to the company that rents tables, you're looking at $25 per table or $20 per table. Okay, well, I'm charging 40 or 50, and I'm paying X amount for the venue. And all of a sudden it's like, this isn't even worth my time. So there's a lot of just nuances that go into it. I think, my opinion, Rosemont every year, it's got everything that you look for. I mean, there's a reason the National comes back to Rosemont every 2 years now. There's a reason for it. Why not just make it every year? I just don't think a rotating basis all over the country is feasible for many different reasons. Let's see. Low Roller says, your Jeff Gordon cards, you have 2 people watching on your eBay store. Thank you for the update. Dollar Box says, I will be at the Madison show. Time for a Dollar Box showdown. Looking forward to it tomorrow morning. Dollar Box showdown. Tracy says, more thoughts on Goodwill pallets. Anything good? Let's see. No. I didn't have, and you must have just missed my comments. I went through just a couple boxes of the junk last night. So I haven't really dug into some of the better boxes. I may I did a lot of shipping. I did a lot of catching up on shipping yesterday between card show prep. So I want to dig in more. So I'll dive into the Goodwill palette. We'll probably end up circling to National Talk because I'm way behind in the chat. So with the Goodwill palette, like, people say, where do you put all these cards? I've bought nearly 1 million cards from Goodwill buying these pallets this year. And it's like, where do you put all these cards? And that's a great question. And it's something I have to ask myself every time I bring in more and more cards. So I've kind of, fortunately, and shout, I can't believe I'm waiting 46 minutes to say this. Happy anniversary to my wife. Today is our 5th year anniversary. 5th year anniversary. And the week of our anniversary, wouldn't have it any other way. Let's see. So this week was another pallet of cards. What else did we do? Hung the ball, had a handyman come hang the ball wall on Monday, picked up a pallet of baseball cards on Wednesday, Madison card show on Saturday. Happy anniversary, honey. But I've shared the story of the week of our wedding. And I know there's probably some new viewers who haven't heard the story. The week of our wedding, 2017. This was when I was ripping and flipping like cases. And so I had bought 2 cases of Allen and Ginter, which Allen and Ginter back then was always released this week, this 3rd or 4th week of July. Well, it was released the Wednesday of our wedding. I had taken Thursday and Friday off of work just to be available to help, at the wedding, take stuff down to the venue and just be around. I took Thursday off. Like, basically I really only needed for that stuff, really only needed to take Friday off, but I took Thursday off because Allen and Ginter was being delivered to my house on Wednesday. And we didn't take we waited until the following year to do our honeymoon. So it wasn't like, I had the time to take. So Allen and Ginter was being delivered on Wednesday. The UPS man, for whatever dumb reason, didn't ring the doorbell, just a slight knock. No. The only problem here is normally that would be okay. It required a signature. Well, when you just slightly knock on the door, my wife was home. She knew that the UPS would be delivering this and she would sign for it, but they didn't even ring the damn doorbell. And I have the ring, so I know if they ring the doorbell. And I was waiting for that notification. Never came. And so I think UPS I get a notification from UPS, attempted delivery. I'm like, what the hell? So I text my wife, like, hey, did UPS come? And she's like, no. And then sure enough, she was upstairs. She comes downstairs and there's a note on the door. Sorry, we missed you. And it's like, so now I'm like, I want to get this. And this was Wednesday night. Like, my wife's grandparents were in town from Pittsburgh for the wedding. And it was her, one of her grandma's 99th birthday that day. So we were going out for grandma's 99th birthday. And so I'm like, okay. So I call UPS. I'm like, hey, you didn't ring the doorbell. I wasn't home. My wife didn't, hear the knock. They're like, well, you can pick it up between like 8 or 9. I think it was 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. I'm like, can I like come down. They're like, no, it's going to be on a truck until like 7:30, and then they can bring it into the office or whatever. And you like, this is our designate for that truck. This is our designated time that you can come pick it up. And I'm like, well, crap, we have like 6:30 day reservations. We've got to take grandma and grandpa back. There's no way. So we get to the restaurant, we're eating, we have dinner. It's about dessert time. I'm looking at the clock. It's like 7:40. And I'm like, damn, I'm going to miss that window. Or maybe it was late. Maybe it was 7 to 8. I think it was 7 to 8. Anyway, it's all of a sudden we get alerts on our phone. There's a tornado warning. There's a tornado warning for our county. Sirens are going off. We better get grandma and grandma. So we didn't have dessert. We dropped grandma and grandma off, which was only like a mile from the UPS place. And it's like, I have like 4 minutes to get there. So say I had between 7 and 8 p.m. It was like 7:56. And I'm like, can we run by UPS? And my wife, being the wonderful woman she is, says with a sigh, okay. And made it just in time. So I picked up my Allen & Ginter case. So happy 5-year anniversary. Anyway, where are we at now? Rich says, wow, 32 viewers. We're up to 32. We were at 40 at one point. I must have bored some people. Let's see. Dan says, looks like lean, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I like Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. It just rolls off the tongue better. Coeur d'Alene makes me work a little bit. Someday I want to go to a national. Someday. Let's see. It's definitely, if you're in the hobby collecting, it's definitely make it a bucket list. Try to get there. It's an awesome time. And I know, like, if you're not going, you're sick of hearing about it. And if you are going, you can't stop talking about it. But really, for like the people that aren't going, like it's nothing. It's like, I'm not going, like there's zero excitement because all the excitement is there. Now, does that mean, like, am I poo-pooing the national? Absolutely not. It's just, I'm not going to be there, so I don't really care. And I don't want to hear about it because I know how fun it is. And there's a little bit of FOMO. So if you can make it, definitely go. It's an awesome time. 100%. It doesn't matter if it's in Atlantic City or if it's in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, or if it's in Lincoln, Nebraska. It's going to be an awesome time. It's the national. Will there be less traffic this year? Probably. I think so, than last year. But will it still be an awesome time? 100%. Let's see. Low Roller says you sold plenty of NBA cards and WNBA cards yesterday. Thank you very much for the update. Tracy says, I would rather spend that big chunk on the trip on other things at this point. Someday, though, I will attend one. Yeah, it's definitely it's a big monetary investment. It could, be upwards of $2,000 just without buying a card, depending on, where you're traveling from. George, what is up? Good evening to George. You're going to have to expand that eBay store and put me to work part-timing once that petition hits the desk of management. Good luck with that, George. Good luck. I'm willing to fall on that sword. Let's see. Rich says, for those who want to see, what's this? NBC 15. Ride the Drive event to close John Nolan Drive. Ooh, this is something that I will need to see. Ride the Drive. Oh, okay, Sunday. Whew. You had me scared there for a second. Sunday, John Nolan Drive. That was June 2nd. Okay. That was June 2nd of 2019. Okay, we're safe. That was 3 years ago. Let's see. You can buy supplies inventory in your... I think Rich was probably for a sign of John Nolan Drive. Low Roller, but that headline scared me. Like, I hope it's not going to be closed. You can buy supplies inventory in eBay for your store. I get a coupon. Every quarter, I get $50 towards supplies. And I use them on these. I don't know which way is which. eBay bubble mailers. Let's see. Dollar Box. I buy cards on eBay every single day. I love lots. I do need to do a little more shopping for lot. You can get some great deals as a buyer on eBay. Let's see. Tracy says, I need that kind of discipline. I'm a sucker for the quarter stack sales on Twitter. George says, I don't think I've bought a card since the first week of February. Zach and Porter, I've never been burned on Twitter, but I only do stack sales, not an environment to burn. Last eBay purchase was to give to another trader, not even for us. Standard envelope is fantastic. Now, it did have a shaky start. Some people are reporting some issues with eBay standard envelope. Mine was glitchy yesterday. So I did have some issues printing off the labels, but if I refreshed the ship label screen, it worked fine. So I didn't have a single label that I couldn't print off, but I think somebody mentioned it in the chat yesterday. And I saw a lot of people on Twitter saying they were having issues. I did not have any issues outside of glitchiness where I did have to hit refresh a few times throughout the day. But all my labels ended up printing after I hit the refresh. But it was glitchy. So if you are having some issues printing labels on eBay, I think I did one live on the show yesterday and it printed out fine. But hit refresh because I printed like the first, I don't know, dozen went okay. And then the next one all of a sudden was glitchy. So I just hit refresh because that's my, apparently my knowledge of technology is similar to my knowledge of construction. I look in my backyard and the neighbors got a worker with the 2 ladders set up with makeshift scaffolding. And I'm like, oh my God, that thing's going to tip over. He's going to break his neck. I don't do ladders. Part of the reason is because my dad, when I was a kid, I was probably 5-6 years old. I was playing in the backyard on one side of the house. My dad was on the other doing my dad built. So here's the thing. I know nothing I hire a handyman to hang pictures on the wall. My dad built the house I grew up in, did the plumbing. He was smart enough to hire an electrician, but did the plumbing, did everything, roofed it, everything himself. And here I am hiring a handyman to hang a picture on the wall. I do change my own light bulbs though. But he fell off the ladder and basically broke his neck. I mean, broke some vertebrae in his neck. He had to wear the neck brace. And so I'm always I'm a little sketchy around ladders. But I had people chime in like, no, that's actually the safe way to do it. Oh, it looks dangerous to me, but I don't climb ladders if I don't have to. Johnny Boy Cards, what is up? Good morning. DR says heading into work, catch the second half later today. Thank you. Have a good Friday. I haven't bought a card since last night, says Jenny. Tracy says worked around the postage issue yesterday. I think nothing still works for me on Google Chrome, but I could purchase and print from Microsoft Edge. Interesting. I use Google Chrome. So, and it was glitchy, but it did work. CCA Gaming, make the hobby pay for itself. Absolutely. Dollar Box says all you have to do is dump your cash and then postage works fine. Let's see. Terry says, good morning. What's up, Terry? Good morning to you. Jenny says, Bo, if you had to go back to the office, what's your dream job aside from selling baseball cards? Man, I don't know. And that's because I wanted a change for several years. And I think I was texting with somebody. I won't name them, but I was texting someone and we kind of had some life, sharing some life insights, I guess, about just general hobby and work. And, I wouldn't change any, like I worked a job I didn't like and much of the time I hated for 7 years, but I wouldn't change anything because if I would have left my job, say in 2018, 19, 20, I would not have been in a position to sell baseball cards full time. And I probably would have jumped to, probably another industry, another job that would have been okay. But I don't know if I had to go back to an office and do something. I think a lot of it's the people, and I know that term is thrown around a lot. And I used to use an example when I worked in college athletics. We were in Fargo, North Dakota. Shout out North Dakota. And we were having drinks at the hotel bar. One of the assistant coaches, I think it was I think it might have been Coach Wolfie. We were talking about Fargo. It was like 20 below zero. It was February in Fargo. Not when you want. Fargo's an awesome city, by the way, just not in February. And so he's like, would you take, and I was back in school. I was working in the athletics department, and I was in school full time. And so at that time, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know if I wanted to make, lean on, now a 4-year degree in business and use that in radio, on the business side of it. I didn't know what I wanted to do play-by-play at the college level, or just go into business in some industry, which is what I ended up doing. But at that time I didn't know. And he goes, what if, North Dakota State offers you a job? Would you move to Fargo? And I said, I mean, not ideally, but if it was a good, if the salary was right, I can have fun and enjoy life wherever I go, whether it's in Macomb, Illinois, Fargo, North Dakota, or Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I'll have a good time. I'll probably complain about the long winter in Fargo. I would probably end up not liking it. I need to get south. But it's as long as you're surrounded by good people, that's all that matters. The place is secondary. The people are primary. The place is secondary. I don't know how I got off on that rant, but Jenny was talking about going back to the office. So and I guess tying that in would be, if it was something I enjoyed doing, even though if it was, some type of sales job, if it's the right environment, if it's the right company, if it's the right people, clients, like that all, makes a huge difference. And I think that's why my last job, it didn't have that, I just didn't mesh well with really any of it. So, and it was the only, I'm 40 years old. I'm a man. I'm going to say that. I just turned 40 6 weeks ago. So I'm going to use that for the next 10 and a half months. But every job I've previously had, I enjoyed because of the people, and, the work sucked sometimes and the people sucked sometimes, but generally speaking, I enjoyed it. Starting back to when I was bagging groceries at the local IGA in high school, to my first job in radio as a part-timer in, going to college, to my first full-time radio job in, small town Cornfield, Illinois, to working in the athletics department at a university. And then I worked in, that was all fun stuff. And then, you work in the real world, and it's like, oh man. And if you're not, and I didn't feel like I was surrounded by like-minded people. We shared some interest, but generally speaking, it just wasn't a good fit. And it didn't take me long to figure it out. It took me 7 years to eventually leave. But what I'm saying is, if I would have left early, I don't think I would be as happy as I am today, selling cards, working for myself, doing this full time, because I wouldn't have been at any other point. I wouldn't have been in the position to make that jump. But when I did make the jump, I was ready and, fully able and ready and willing to make that jump. So that's a long answer. Zach, what is up? Good morning to you from the farmer's market. That is awesome. Selling sunflowers this morning. Speaking of farmers markets, if anybody's from out of town coming to the Madison Card Show tomorrow, the Madison Farmers Market is like the best in the Midwest. Like it's actually like ranked. I don't know if you Google Madison Farmers Market, it's probably going to come up like among the best in the at least Midwest, maybe in the country. It's an awesome farmers market. So if you are planning to make the trip either tomorrow or the August show, come in early, go down to the farmers market on the downtown around the Capitol, and it's definitely a great farmers market. Leo says having fun while making money is not a bad thing, right? It is not whatsoever. Let's see. Jenny says it's like aunt versus aunt. See, I say aunt, not aunt. Aunt. I say ant. But I get annoyed when my mom says crick. It's creek. It's creek. Let's see. Most people call penny sleeves penny sleeves. Some call them penis leaves. Potato. Right on. The Card Hobbyist says we have a town called Martinez, but they pronounce it like an American would pronounce the name Martin. Oh, like Martinez. Okay, that's a new one. There's a town in Illinois. There, I said it, Illinois. It's spelled San Jose, but it's San Jose, Illinois. When was the Dell show last year, and did that affect your shows? No, the first Dell show was in May, and I think it was the week before my show, the weekend before my Madison May show, but that was only the second show that I had promoted. So it's not even, I can't really even compare it. And even the second Dell show was in August, and I think it was a weekend off. And I don't think it really affected my show at all. But those early shows, especially that May show, I've got to throw that out the window. By August, it was starting to grow a little more. But I don't think there was much of an impact from having it so within 1 weekend of each other. Zach says, Patrick, big fan. My wife is from Martinez. It definitely heard that way when I visit Augusta. Jenny says $3.76 for gas in Wisconsin. I should come stock up. Yeah, it was there. So there's a couple of like gas honey holes in Madison with the cheapest gas, at least on the west side of town. So the cheapest gas, and usually if you're not a Costco member, and actually it's usually the same price as Costco gas, which we all know Costco gas is like the cheapest. But it's attached to it's a Chinese restaurant attached to a Chinese grocery store that's also a gas station, and they have the cheapest gas in town typically. And it was $3.76 when I drove by there yesterday. And so I assume Costco's probably at that $3.76. There's a small gas station in Middleton. It's like the Middleton Farmers Co-op, I think. And it's usually a few cents higher than the Chinese gas station. I think it was $3.81 when I drove by the other day. So those are some of the better gas prices. So I probably should go to one of those places because I should have actually stopped at the 376 yesterday because I'm like under 100 miles to empty. So it's a good time I never get gas until I'm at like 8 miles, and then I play the game. Like, okay, the gas station's 7 miles away. I can make it. Zach says gas is going down in Georgia as well. Jenny says it's $4.54 there. Holy cow. Rich says it's $3.62 in Dallas. Wow. To me, the National is a collector's Disneyland, worth the money if you got it. Pepino Man, what is up? And that's a great sentiment. I agree. It is. It's definitely like it's hobby paradise. Rich says back in the day, some areas had collecting clubs and sent buses to card shows. Oh, speaking of that, so I'll have to share this story. And again, happy 5th anniversary to my wife. I was telling her the Singles Club is going to make a pit stop in Madison tomorrow and just check into the Madison card show and check it out on their way to Atlantic City. And so I was telling my wife, and I'm like, I told her the whole background, the Singles Club, and she kind of gave me that like, huh? And I'm like, they sell all their cards are $1. And she's like, oh, that's awesome. That's great. And she's like, why don't you just hitch a ride with them and go to the National? And then she's like, why don't you should just get a bus and like everybody. I'm like, that's gas prices are coming down. That's my dream is to like rent an RV like for spring training and take an RV, but I'm a very independent person. So I don't know if I could handle, like an RV like a short bus trip is okay. I mean, I traveled with football and basketball teams on a bus, 8-hour bus trips. So I can handle it, but an RV is a little more intimate, because you're like likely staying and sleeping along the way. It's like I just want to, and it's probably not feasible for just me to drive cross country in an RV. But that's we can dream, right? There's no way in hell my wife would do that trip. A, because she's not RV life, and B, she's not baseball life. So she doesn't want to go to seven straight days of baseball games. Let's see. Leo said yesterday filled up 529. Yeesh. Rich says, I know in 1984, my friends from Albany had a bus to the Parsippany show. And since I had done many of those shows, the collectors were happy to see me and spend money. Love it. 383 in North Georgia this morning. Excellent. Rich says, I think for a 2-hour trip each way, that might be a way to get people to attend. Yeah, I think 2 to 3 hours is, feasible for a trip. Madison Card Show sponsored bus trips to next year's National. The ideas are starting to form. Let's see. George says, I took a look at my junk this morning. I don't know what junk you're talking about. Let's see. I'm confident with what I saw. No need to. Oh, you are talking about. Your mind is in the gutter this morning. I guess it's this evening for you. Let's see. Where are we at? Happy Free for All Friday. Here we are, an hour and 11 minutes, and I'm still way behind in the chat. Let's see. So I am catching up. Let's see. Terry, do you think 1982 Topps Commons would sell in your store? Some, yes. It kind of varies. And I get people ask me a lot, and I do share this. How do you know? Like when I share like some of the random stuff that sells and see if I can just find anything quickly off the top. But how do you know what might sell? And a lot of it's just a crapshoot. Like some of the stuff I'm just trial and error is like the best, advice I can give. But there are, fan favorites are big. And the examples I use, Jim McMahon, William the Refrigerator Perry. And I know those names just because they're fan favorites to me as a Chicago Bears fan. Some of the oddball quirky cards, like those studio credit cards. I sold a Randy Johnson overnight. Some of the more oddball stuff. I sold Deion Sanders sells well, Bo Jackson. Let's see. Trying to find like just a random like commonish player that is sold recently. But basically like your fan favorites, or rookies that didn't pan up. Brian Taylor, Kevin Moss, Greg Jeffries sells well. Out of 1982, your semi-stars, Dale Murphy would sell well, would move and move. And we're also talking price points, $1.50 to $2 with free shipping. So it's a grind, but there's definitely, I could probably, say a full set of 1982 Topps without like the big name stars. I could probably pull out, 20 cards that would likely move. And then there's some, and this is where it kind of becomes difficult, because you could list the complete, say, common set, like all the commons of 1982 Topps baseball in your eBay store, and you may sell a Von Hayes and just like random, like I can't believe somebody bought a Claudell Washington card. But you may only sell, say you list 500 of those commons, you may only sell Claudell Washington, 1 out of 500. So you're spending all that time listing another 499 cards. So it's kind of a crapshoot, and there's some trial and error to it as well. Card Hobbyist says, Pareto principle, 20% of people involved in the hobby create 80% of the content you see. Thank you. There it is. I am pumped. Last night I hit a Kyle Trask Red Prism SSP case hit out of a $35 Prism football blaster from Walmart. Nice. That is awesome. Let's see. Dan says planning to take I-90 all the way there. The people at Rosemont also know what they are doing. Absolutely. Okay, here's Rich National Talk. Here we go. Last year in the lobby to enter the show, they had a place for luggage on Saturday and Sunday, so you did not have to bring that into the show. That's cool. The promoters told me the Rosemont people thought of that. Interesting. And my thought was, that is so perfect. Yeah, that is awesome. And you learn this, like doing things over and over. Like, you may hold the, say the National 6 times at the Rosemont Stevens Convention Center. In year 7, you come up with this idea of a luggage holding area. Pepino says the YouTuber parties after the shows at the National are the best. Next year, I do plan on attending. Normally, I like to just go back to my hotel and relax and unwind, but I do plan on going to the YouTube party next year when it's in Rosemont. Let's see. Son, I may be old, but I have different dreams at the National. Herman says, for those involved, I'm going to try to set up a time for the draft later this weekend. Let's see. Rich says 400K or more square feet on one floor. Cooter says I joined just in time for the National Talk. Rich says there might be only 15 places in the country that works for. And then the nuances, unions. Yeah, and that's the stuff that I know that John has talked about as well. Unions, guarantees of hotel rooms, long-term contracts, and those are just the tip of the. And that's what, the general public or the general national goers, those are the things, those are the nuances that, it's not like you can just pick out a city and say, hey, and I don't know, I'm just going to say I don't know if there's anywhere in Dallas that it would work, but I would love to see a National in Dallas. Even though I want it to be in Chicago every year, if it has to be somewhere, I'd much rather it be in Dallas than Atlantic City. But there may be, the venue may not be near any hotel rooms, or there's a union involved, or the price. I mean, there's so many nuances that go into it. When you have to check all the boxes, it's really difficult. And like Rich said, there may only be 15 places in the entire country that you could hold a National. Card Hobbyist says true, but general perception is that the National isn't putting in the work to expand to new areas. Rich says I'm with and against you on that, but I think every other year works for Chicago. I'll take it if that's what we get. Trust me, we had a convo last year on Dr. Jim's podcast with the people who run the National. They do a ton of due diligence to find other places. Let's see. Card Hobbyist says, I believe you, Rich, but the average collector doesn't know that. Thank you, Mark. Victor and Zach. That was the anniversary. Thank you. Happy anniversary. Thank you. Let's see. Pepino Man says, congrats. Me and the wife just celebrated 25 years. Wow. Congratulations. Dan says seeing $6 to ship a single card. That's crazy. Let's see. Thank you, Tracy. I need to get our family fantasy football league set up. Can't wait for football season to start. I'm looking more forward to football season this year than maybe in previous years, probably because the Cubs really suck. I mean, I think last year I was really looking forward to football season because I had that bad taste in my mouth from, realizing, and I think they were smart moves by the Cubs to trade Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, Javi Baez. But still, it's like, oh, those are the guys from 2016. And I know that's a long time ago. And they weren't even performing like they performed in 2015, 16, 17. So, but it still hurt. And it was like, okay, get baseball season over with. I want football season, even though the Bears suck. At least it's a change of scenery for the interim. And then I can focus on college basketball in November. But I'm also looking forward to football because of what's behind me. Bowman, I can't wait for college football season and to see if any of these cards will sell. John says Liverpool Soccer Club had a legendary manager called Bill Shankly. He took his wife on her birthday to watch, I'm probably going to mispronounce this, Rockdale reserve team. What a great person. Wife surprised me yesterday, said she got tickets to Mizzou SC game and SC this year. We're both Mizzou alumni, so nice to get them. They come to SC. That's awesome. Thank you, Jenny. Card Hobbyist says, Bo going to be talking till lunchtime, trying to catch up on the chat. I think I'm getting close, right? Card Hobbyist says, happy 25th anniversary to Pepino Man. Paul Carl Cards, what is up? Good morning to you. I think I'm extra late today. Hey, I'm still catching up on chat. Let's see. Jenny says, that's okay being late. Bo going to be here a while. He's reading comments from about 7:15 and it's 7:56. LOL, awesome. What did you think of that shipping video, Jenny? Was it useful for you? Let's see. What's up, Diego? Diego's in the house. Have a great weekend to you. Dan says, Honey Hole would be a great name for an outdoor toilet company. I have seen Honey Bucket. Bearded Bookworm says a big drop here in the Phoenix area went from over 5 a gallon to 4.73. Anytime it goes down is feels good in my book. George says, I mean, it is a wax package. Michael says, update, baseball singles do well. Oftentimes it could be that players only card. Jenny says, just logged back in. Bo's still going. He's going to need a coffee maker next to him for the Friday free-for-all. I know. So we were talking about, we were talking more on the new house, which, so we'll close on it in December and then we'll start renovating in January. And, you know, talking about the basement area, there's a spot for a wet bar. And I'm like, I don't entertain, like we don't have people over. And I only drink beer, like just, I need a beer fridge. That's all. I don't need a wet bar. And then I thought, you know what? I could really use a coffee bar though. If I had a coffee bar downstairs, I mean, that would be great. I mean, actually I wouldn't have it near my cards. I would have to have it like a separate area, but maybe a coffee bar. And that's easy. Like that's way easier than a wet bar. Let's see. Rich says, yes, K. Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center is big enough and as a right to work state, no unions in Dallas. There you go. But who the bleep wants to come to Dallas in July and I live here? And I have reached the end of the chat. That's a great point about Dallas in July. That is a great point about Dallas in July. Let's see. Michael says coffee bar, great idea. He needs a wet bar so Frank can have something to drink at the housewarming party. No Frank updates yesterday. Oh, but speaking of backyards, my cucumbers have like just all of a sudden taken off this week. So I have my first batch of future pickles. I am going to do some pickling on Sunday. Sunday is going to be like I'm gonna relax after coming off a long weekend of card show and Goodwill pallet and shipping. So I'm gonna relax on Sunday by mowing the lawn and making some pickles, which will be a nice break from the grind. So I grew some Japanese cucumbers, which are really good with because they have more of a melon taste than like a cucumber taste. So they're really good with like I sliced one and then I put soy sauce on it, and it was a very good combination. So I grew some Japanese. I don't know how they'll pickle though. I do need to do some Googling and see if they make a good pickle, or what type of pickle they would make. Maybe it would be more on the sweet pickle as opposed to a dill. But my first batch, my jalapenos have really come on, so I'm going to make some spicy pickles. I've got a friend that uses them for Bloody Marys. I always want to say margarita, but I don't think a pickle would taste well in a margarita. But that's also not my. We know I should not comment on ladder safety and mixed drinks. So I don't know. Maybe a pickle would taste good in a margarita. But a Bloody Mary, he uses them in Bloody Marys. He likes the spicy pickle recipe that I just stole off Google. So I can't take credit. He says they're really good. Thank Google or whoever I stole the recipe from on whatever website I Googled. George says pickles in Asia generally sweet. Yeah, this is more of a sweet. The Japanese cucumber, more of a sweet, a melony taste. but not like, it's kind of like a cross between like, this is not going to come off how I want it to come across, like a watermelon rind, like when you, like the worst part of the watermelon when you like take that last bite and it's like the green part, but it's got like a mix between a cucumber and that. But it's good. I know that I didn't sell it really well using that reference, but believe me, trust me, the Japanese cucumber, pretty good. So plan on pickling on Sunday. So, hey, have a great day. It's Friday. Thank you for an awesome chat. Took me forever to get through, which is awesome. That's what I love to do. Hit the like button if you have not already. Subscribe to the channel. I don't know if I'll put any videos up from the Goodwill pallet today. I do want to. I might spend some of the morning going through some stuff just because my rec room's a disaster right now. Obviously no show tomorrow because of the Madison card show. If you're within a few hours, come on out. Madison card show tomorrow, 120 sold out tables, free admission, hours of the show, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And after the show, walk across the street, which is John Nolan Drive, by the way. Walk right across John Nolan Drive to the Dane County Fair. Get yourself a corn dog and a lemon shake up at the Dane County Fair. Madison card show tomorrow. I'll be back on to review the show on Sunday morning. Hopefully I get some time. Adam from the Dollar Box is going to be in the house tomorrow. So we are going to do a Dollar Box showdown. We're going to challenge each other in the Dollar Boxes. So we're going to do that. We're going to put some content out. My guys from the Singles Club are going to stop in. So I'm going to share a moment with them. I'm also going to try to squeeze in a half an hour to where I do a walkthrough video. I've got 15 first-time vendors at the show, so plenty of new stuff to see. We'll do a Madison card show live at some point tomorrow as well. So if you're within a few hour drive, it's worth the trip. Madison, Wisconsin, John Nolan Drive, Sheraton Hotel card show tomorrow. Have a great Friday, and we'll see you at the show tomorrow.